topic, we're going to be talking about the mid-segment theorem here. So remember, the mid-segment theorem is when we draw a segment that connects the midpoints of two sides of the triangle. And so what happens is we're going to create, all right, a segment that's in the middle. That's what I call the mid-segment, right? And this segment is always parallel to the opposite side here, to the third side, and it's always half of the length because it's kind of in the middle, right? So what that tells us, okay, is two things. They don't always have to use the word mid-segments in a question, okay? They could instead tell us that we're connecting midpoints, right? They could just tell me that D is a midpoint and E is a midpoint, or they could just show that these two pieces are equal, and then we'll have to know that that means that D and E's are midpoints. So keep that in mind. All right, so for number 15, in the diagram, we have mid-segments, and we want to find the perimeter of this quadrilateral right here, okay? So what we're going to do, all right, to find the perimeter is consider what does it mean, like what are these side lengths, and then what do these answers represent in terms of the shape. So if we're trying to find, okay, right here, come on now, all right, which one of these equivalent, we want to consider what are these things, right? What do they represent in terms of the shape? So number one, we know that DE is a mid-segment because it connects to midpoints. So that means that DE is equal to half of this whole side across from it, AC. All right? And remember that since F is a midpoint, that means that these two pieces are equal. So AF is also equal to 1/2 of the whole line AC. So these two things are actually equal to each other. Okay, and the same thing is going to happen on this side. All right, EF is the same as half of BA, and so is DA. These two pieces are going to be equal. So if we look at the options, is AB plus BC plus AC equal to this perimeter? And they're like, no, that can't be right, because this plus this, right, these two things put together, DE and AB, would be the same as doing AF plus FC. So there's extra pieces here. So this is out, okay? So is 1/2 of AB plus 1/2 of AC the answer? Well, 1/2 of AB is just AD, and 1/2 of AC is just AF. I'm not taking into consideration these other two pieces. So this can't be the answer. Okay, is it 2 times AB plus 2 times AC? Remember that this is the whole line. If we double it, we're going to get like 4 of these pieces. So that's too big. So it has to be this one, because if we take AD plus FE, this together would be 2 of these. That's the same as AB. Okay? And on the other side of it, DE plus AF, right? These two pieces would be like adding these together. And this whole thing is AC. So when I add these together, that's what I'm going to come up with. Okay? All right, number 16. So we're going to start by labeling everything first. So if we know that AB is 24, that CD is 18, and we know AH is 10. Okay, we don't want to get super confused here. So keep in mind that we have E, H, and F that are midpoints of AD. So this is a midpoint, okay? H is a midpoint of AC, and then F is a midpoint of BC. And we are trying to figure out the length of HF, FH. So this is what we're trying to figure out. If you start looking at this as a trapezoid, it's going to get difficult, because we're going to try to say, well, if we could do the mid-segment of a trapezoid, I could figure out what do I need to add to go from 18 to the halfway point and then over to 24. And you would say, well, to get to 18 to 24, I have to add 6. So if I added 3 and 3, then I could figure out the length of this whole line, right? It's just 21. But we don't know where H is on this line. That's the problem. It's not in the middle. It doesn't say H is the midpoint of EF. So we get a little stuck there. Instead, what we want to do is we want to look at this and say, you know what? There's actually a triangle that's hidden, right, in this shape. And because H and F are midpoints on that triangle, right? They're right in the middle, then that's going to tell us that this line segment is a mid segment of our triangle. And so this is just 1/2 of the opposite side. So HF is just 1/2 of AB. That's it. So all we have to do is just take half of 24. And we're going to get 12. And that's the answer. This line is just 12. Done. Okay? So it gets a little tough because it looks like there's triangles in here, but we really want to focus in on the fact that we have midpoints of this triangle, and so that segment is a mid-segment. All right, number 17. If EF is 2x plus 8 and AB is 7x minus 2, what is the perimeter of this trapezoid ABFE? So first thing we want to do is we want to figure out what x is, okay? And we also want to carefully read and notice that this is an equilateral triangle. So this whole piece is also 7x minus 2, and this whole piece is also 7x minus 2. And since these points are midpoints, then this line, which is half of this, is also the same as this piece, okay? So one idea would be to find x to get the sides of the triangle, and then you would just basically take half of that to get these sides, and then we could find the perimeter. So importantly, remember that this segment here, okay, is the mid segment. So it's 1/2 of the opposite side. So that's how we're going to get x. So let's start there. So we would know that in order to create an equation, I need 2x plus 8 to equal the same thing as 7x minus 2. So we can distribute first to get 4x plus 16. Move all the x's on the same side. All right. And we can also move the constants to the other side, right, by moving those 2's over. And we'll get 18 is equal to 3x. And then I can just divide by 3 and get that x is equal to 6. Now, if we plug in, okay, we're going to know that if I do 7 times 6 minus 2, that's 42 take away 2. So then this whole side is 40. That means this whole side is 40 and this is 40. And since these are midpoints, that makes these two pieces 20 because these are equal. Okay, and actually, these are also equal. All right, so we're going to know that this is also 20. And because this is half of this, and if I plug 6 in, 6 times 2, 12 plus 8 is also 20. Now I can do the perimeter here, okay? So the perimeter is just going to equal add all the sides. And so we're just going to add the 20, the 20, the 20, and the 40. Okay, so key thing, right? We got to recognize how these are tied together. So the mid segment is half, or it's twice as big. All right, we need 2 of these to make this. Okay, and then once we do, careful that we're reading the questions, we can figure out all the pieces we need to find the perimeter. All right, on to our last topic, altitude drawn to the hypotenuse. We'll see you in the next video.